Hello, and welcome to today's episode of the Be She podcast. Today, I am so excited to be bringing you an amazing guest. Her name is Jeanette Yates, and I am going to introduce her in a second. But first, I want to welcome her to the show. Welcome, Jeanette, and thank you so much for taking time with me today.
Oh, it is my pleasure. I'm so excited to be speaking with you. Thanks for
I
having
am
me.
I am too, because this topic is really near and dear to my heart because it's one that I struggled with for a long time, being a single mom and entrepreneur. So I'm going to introduce you and then we will dive right in.
Let's
So
do it.
Jeanette Yates is a lifelong caregiver who understands the challenges of balancing self-care with the demands of caring for others. As a wife, mother, and primary caregiver for her mother, Jeanette once struggled to find time for herself amidst endless to-do lists and feelings of guilt. However, she eventually discovered the power of self-care and learned how to prioritize her own needs without sacrificing the care she provides to her loved ones. With a focus on self-awareness, self-advocacy, self-compassion, and self-care, Jeanette empowers caregivers to take back their time and rediscover their worth. Her mission is to help caregivers find balance, reduce burnout, and live fulfilling lives while still providing the care that they are so passionate about giving. You mentioned a couple things in here that I want to touch base on today, but before I do that, especially guilt, because as a mom,
Yes.
and building a business, yeah, I can completely understand. And as women, we kind of carry guilt around, like we're nurturers, we want to take care of everybody else first.
Yes.
So why is it that you got started, like you wanted to help other people with their self-care?
So like you mentioned, I've been a caregiver most of my life. My mom was diagnosed with her disease when I was 8. I'm now 48, proud of it. Woo woo. But I have been in this caregiving role for a long time, and I have been in the caregiving spaces. So I've been in a lot of those like groups that are all about, helping the caregiver. But one of the things I really noticed was missing is there's a lot of talk about, be sure to fill your cup before doing it, put on your oxygen mask first, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, I'm tired of people saying that without really telling us how to do it. Because yes, we all want to take better care of ourselves, but when are we supposed to do it? We're stressed out, we're burned out, we're exhausted. And
Yeah.
then yet we're supposed to squeeze in some more time for ourselves where? And so I know that I had struggled with that as part of my caregiving and self-care journey.
Mm.
And I was like, I bet I'm not the only person here wondering how the heck I'm supposed to actually do this. It's like all those things you see when, when you're on Instagram or whatever. And it's like, I'm supposed to drink 8 glasses of water today and also do this and also do this. And like, when am I supposed to do this? And so I really just learned for myself, trial and error, how this actually works. And then once I figured it out, I was like, I want to share this with other caregivers so that they can stop rolling their eyes and being frustrated every time someone tells them to take care of themselves so they can take care of others. I want to kick that to the curb and let's just focus on ourselves.
I love that and it's so true. Like I hear that all the time, and I'll admit it. For with my clients, I'll be like, make sure not to fill your cup, overflow it, because I
Right.
feel like filling it, then there's always going to be lack at some point. So
Right.
for overflowing it and finding time to do that, but you're right. Nobody tells us how to find the time to do that when we're running
Right.
the rat race and, burning the candle at both ends and falling into
Right.
bed at night just to repeat the
Mm-hmm.
process the next day. So do you give people a plan, the people that you help, do you support them with a specific plan or the baby steps in order to start implementing this? Because it can be overwhelming to add one more thing to our plate when we're exhausted and busy.
Right. So the way that I teach my framework, and when I was doing it, it wasn't a framework, it was just what I did, right? But what I learned is I used to do all the self-care things. I was a Pilates instructor. I journaled every day. I read, devotionals and
Mm.
self-help and all this kind of stuff. I was getting the massages, I was doing the manicures, and I always felt like crap. And the reason was I didn't feel like I deserved it. I thought all of this stuff was extra. All of this stuff was like I had to earn it in order to do it. And so any self-care practice can work. None of it is going to work until you recognize and understand and believe that you deserve it. And so part of my framework is to help people reframe their whole concept of self-care. Like, yes, like I said, I'm a big fan of the manis and the pedis and the massages, but if you're not getting enough sleep, if you're not learning well, and sleep is really big for caregivers, I'm sure, for busy um, uh, women entrepreneurs as well, busy moms. But, you know, sleep is just my favorite example. You know, if you're not getting enough sleep, none of that other stuff's going to matter. It's not going to matter how much you work out. It's not going to matter how good you eat or how much water you drink or how pretty your nails are or whatever. None of that's going to matter if you're not getting enough sleep. You're still going to get burned out. And so part of my framework is kind of shifting that idea of self-care and learning how to tap into your own self-awareness and be connected with what your body is actually asking you for before you set up your plan. But then, yes, we do walk through some goal setting strategies and habit building. And I introduce people to a variety of self-care practices, rituals, routines that they can incorporate. A little
Oh
bit of
yeah, I
both.
love how you shared about the self-care, because I was the same way. I did the nails, did the, did all the things, but it didn't feel like self-care. It just felt like
Mhm.
one more thing on my calendar that I had to
Right,
do, had to get
right,
done. So you bring up a really good point, and I know that you work with caregivers, which I think is spectacular because they are the epitome of the nurturers. Not only are they taking care of their
right.
own people, loved ones in their own life, but they're also taking care of their patients or the people that they're
Mhm.
caring for on the outside of their family. So
Right.
what would you share that you focus on self-awareness, self-advocacy, and self-compassion with the self-care. So what would be something for somebody that's listening that maybe is like, I don't even know where to begin? What would
Right.
be step one that you could share?
Well, you know, in general, I would say you really just need to sit down and be honest with yourself about what you're, because you already know where to begin, but we're just so good at turning down what we need that we're not even able to hear it anymore. So
Mm.
the first step is to sit down, and one of the exercises I usually walk through with the caregivers I work for, most of the caregivers that I work with and that work with me, they're taking care of a parent or two or three and their children. So we're in that sandwich generation. So we're doing both of those things and probably also have a job. So there's a lot of, I don't have any more time. So the first thing I ask caregivers to think about is let's get honest about your capacity for caregiving and for self-care. So a lot of times caregivers gradually get into whatever caregiving role they're in. So they may have started like, oh, I'm just going to do the shopping for mom, or I'm just going to go with her to the doctor's appointments. Oh, it looks like she's, maybe needs some help with, meals. So I'll go over, and help with that. And then the next thing we know, we're there every day. We're going to 5 doctor's appointments a month minimum. We're doing all this stuff and we're like, wait, when did this happen? So I think part of it is getting an idea of like, what are you really doing as a caregiver? Excuse me. Um, sorry about that.
No problem.
One of the things that I think is really important is to like literally, just like you would for your work schedule or anything else, list out the hours that you're spending on caregiving, and
Mm.
then ask yourself, it are you doing more than you have the capacity to do right now in your life? So, that changes your capacity. Your job may change, your needs in your home may change, all of these different things. And so we have to constantly reassess the capacity when seasons change in our lives. But I know, I went from picking up some milk once a week to being at my mom's house every single day, 7 days a week.
Wow.
And there was no like decision, there was no conversation. It's just like, if she needed something, I did it. And
Mm.
that went from dropping off some milk to doing all the things. And it was so gradual, I didn't even see it. So getting clarity on your capacity for caregiving, and then say, like, if I could just do one self-care thing, what would it be? Just one thing. What's your capacity? Like, maybe you're like, I don't even know what it would be. But if a lot of people have an idea, there's something they're like, I just want a long bath. I just want to, you know, uh, you know, be by myself and read a book or whatever it is. There's one thing that somebody wants to be able to do. If you could only do one thing. that's the thing you want to start with. Typically for caregivers, it's sleep. That's why I keep mentioning it. It's sleep. We just want to sleep. And so that's how I would start. Figuring out what you're currently doing and if it's beyond your capacity, and then also figuring out what you really would want to do if you can only do one self-care thing. Do that first.
Yeah, it's so good. Thank you for that share. And what came to mind for me when you were talking, when you were sharing, is that maybe could be also enrollment of help, of support, like requesting
Yes.
support, because as women, as caregivers, these are people we love and care about, and we want to we want to say yes to all the things, and we want to be there. However, sometimes it doesn't benefit either party, right?
Right.
Because we're so run down. So just asking for help. And that's really hard for many of us. I know for me, it was
Yes.
very hard. I'm a lone wolfer. So I'm like, yes to everything. And I had to learn. That's one thing I had to learn, was be like, okay, when do I have the capacity? Like you said, that's such an important point. And you said how it just creeps up on you. And we don't realize how much we're doing until we list it out. So I love that you shared that. Take the moment
Yeah.
to write it all out, what you're doing and how many hours. Because even when we say yes to something, we may think, oh, that's going to take us 30 minutes, but realistically, it's taking us an hour and a half, right?
Yep.
Or
Yep.
that was such a great point. So what do you find, like how soon, when people move through this process,
Mm-hmm.
what is do they have, what is the biggest aha you've seen, or the biggest results you've seen, or like their favorite self-care method, or most common besides sleep that you find? Because I know sleep
Right.
is definitely a priority.
Well, and to be honest, I'm usually trying to flip their brain to think about sleep first, because nobody wants to. That's like the least fun of the things. We want it, but also like, or I could go do this instead. And it's like, no, no,
Right.
no, sleep, sleep, sleep. I will say though, one that you talked about, that enlisting support. That's part of what we work on in that self-advocacy piece. Because yes, once you figure out that like you're probably working beyond your capacity as a caregiver, or, maybe you're trying to do much self-care, you figure out what that capacity is, you're going to realize you need some help and support, and that actually asking for it, like you said, because we want to be the fixer, the nurturer, the caregiver. In many cases, we've been trained and conditioned our whole lives that is our role, right? That's what we are here for. And so if we say we need help doing it, does that mean we're a bad caregiver? Does that mean we're a bad parent? Does that make sense? And so I think that second piece is a big place, and a place where a lot of aha happens, because it's okay to say, yes, I understand that the person I'm caring for needs XYZ care. That doesn't mean I have the capacity to give it. And that was a big aha for me. And I know I hear a lot of that when I'm talking with other caregivers. It's like, oh, yes, being a caregiver doesn't necessarily mean I have to be the actual person doing all the care. I can't, there are other resources, sometimes within your family. I know, sometimes not. Sometimes the reason you're doing this is because nobody else will. I get it. But there are places you can go if we let go of the idea that we have to be the ones that do it all. So that's one big aha moment. And then the second aha is the idea of self-care doesn't have to be take a long time. The first little self-care strategy I teach, and do you want me to go ahead and talk about this now, or
Yeah,
you want
let's
me to?
go.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So this is my favorite self-care strategy for anybody. Of course, I work with caregivers, family caregivers, but anybody who's way too busy and thinks I don't have time to take care of myself. Here's what to do. This was my favorite thing. I started not trying to add anything else. I just started to become aware of what I was already doing for myself. And you may be thinking to yourself, I don't do anything. That's the point. That's why I need help with self-care. Yes, but chances are you're doing something to take care of yourself. Are you taking a shower? Are you brushing your teeth? Are you eating a meal? Any of those three things. Chances are you're doing one of those three. Pick one of those and just own that moment. Just own it. That is your self-care time. I remember I never got such great reports from my dentist as when I started just owning that time in front of my mirror. That is my self-care time, that 5 minutes. I'm going to brush these teeth. I'm going to floss them. I'm going to gargle. I may even put something else in there. I'm going to moisturize my lips, whatever, right? I'm going to own that time. I'm not really, I mean, I might be edging in another minute or two, but I'm not really taking any more time out of my day than I normally do. I'm just brushing my teeth. Or if I'm in that shower, I am, you know, feeling the water, taking deep breaths, smelling that shampoo. I'm experiencing it. And just become aware of the time that you already are giving yourself. Once you do that, and you give yourself a little bit of grace and a little bit of credit for what you are doing, then it kind of opens the door for more practices and more space in your schedule. You might even start looking for it a little bit more, like looking for those spaces a little bit more. But that's the first thing I started doing, is just becoming aware of the moments I was already taking. I wasn't using them to my advantage.
Mm.
How many times are you in the shower and your brain's just thinking about all the stuff you got to do next, or you're brushing your teeth and maybe you're brushing your teeth and doing something else. Have you done that? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's just brush those teeth. Let's just own that moment, And once I started, or stopped thinking about the next thing I had to do in those like not fun self-care things, they started to be a lot more fun. And I started to look for a lot more spaces to squeeze in more of that. And boom, there you are. You have a new self-care routine.
Exactly. That's so good. I love your ahas about, self-care, caregiving doesn't mean that I necessarily need to be the caregiver. I'm the right person for that role, and being aware of that, and getting honest with yourself about that, and not feeling bad, not feeling less than. And that's when many women, especially for caring for a loved one, like a parent or someone like that, we could feel like, well, I should be good enough. I should be enough. I should be able to handle it all and carry the weight of the world on my shoulders because I'm Superwoman. And it doesn't need to be like, you could be Superwoman by releasing that to somebody that can take care of it better. And then you're focusing on the people that, you can serve better and take care of. And I love that you're sharing focus on the brushing teeth. Do you know how like, so many people just brush their teeth really fast? And I'll admit, I'm one of those people. It's like, okay, how fast can I get this done? Because I have to take the kids to school, or I need to move on to the next thing. And so I love that you said, just be in that moment. Like, and you mentioned that some people are like, I don't do anything for myself. And you're like, yes, you do. You take a shower, you brush your teeth. There are things that you do to take care of yourself, which is great awareness and eye-opening. And I'm sure a lot of people listening are going to be like, aha, right now. Like, I don't do anything for myself. I don't fill my cup, but I do brush my teeth, and I do take a shower, and I do those things. How about if I just take another 30 seconds to a minute and just be present in the moment, and, and enjoy that moment, and celebrate yourself that you do that. Like, celebrate that self-care that you already are doing, even though it may not be the other self-care that you're thinking you should be doing.
Right.
I love my showers, Jeanette. I'm going to tell you, like, I love hot showers. Like, the hotter, the better.
Yes.
And it's my quiet. And I just sit there and I'm like, and it's just so relaxing because I am a single mom. I'm building a business. My kids have 2 different school times a day, 2 different pickup times a day. So
don't get me started on the school times. Oh yeah.
We're both in Florida, so I don't know if y'all in other states have this, but like, my daughter goes to high school at 7:30. She needs to be there. My son, not till 9:30 in middle school.
Yeah.
Pickups at 2:40, 2:50, and then 4 o'clock. Like, there's 3 hours of the day gone, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that you shared those just the cheap bread. That I've never heard that before. So that was really, really interesting. And I love that we can just add a minute to there, and then the time, like you said, time opens magically.
Yes.
Well, what came up for me too is, relationships. I think for me, I know when I'm really busy and I have a lot going on, I can feel like nobody understands what I'm going through, and I get into a hole, right? I can isolate myself. So relationships, I'm sure, suffer when we're feeling like we can't even take care of ourselves, that we don't have the capacity for another phone call or even to go out to dinner with a friend or anything like that. So how important is relationships in this environment? Because I know you have a community, so I want to talk about that too. But how important is relationships when we're feeling like the world, we're so we're so locked in with no extra
Right.
time, and we're feeling alone on this island.
Well, I think the biggest lie that anybody believes is that they're the only person going through whatever it is they're going through. So you as a single mom, may have felt that from time to time, or, I know caregivers sometimes feel like, no one else understands what I'm going through in my day-to-day life. And so we seek out online community or support groups, maybe in our area. But it's always comforting to get in a room, whether that's a virtual room or a face-to-face, and hear that, yeah, everybody knows exactly what you're talking about. You don't have to explain away that all those weird feelings, those kind of complicated feelings. And so I think once you do that and you realize you're not alone, that's a big breath of fresh air and a way to start um, building relationships with other people. I think that's really, really big way to start taking care of yourself, because the more we isolate, and I'm an introvert, so I do need like a lot of time to myself, but so that's okay. Like some people need to be around people all the time. Other people are like me and like, no, enough is enough. But when you at least can have contact in whatever way that makes you feel comfortable, virtually, via text message, in person, face to face, finding a place where you can go when you need someone to say, hey, I understand you. Or sometimes this is even better. I don't understand you, but I'm going to stand right there with you. That's okay too. I know I have different communities for what I'm feeling at any different time. But yes, I think that, we're all born to be in a community, in connection with other people. And I think sometimes when we're only connected to people that need us, that's not real community, right? That's just going to pull us apart. We need somebody that can help pull us back together. And so that's one of the things that happens in my community, is that when you are in my community, everybody in my community, the self-caregiver community, we're all caregivers, but you don't need to talk about it. Like, you don't need to talk about being a caregiver. I just want you to tell me what you did to take care of yourself today, or where you're struggling to take care of yourself today, or what you want to work on in your self-care journey. There's other groups where you can talk about Medicaid and nursing homes and annoying loved ones and all that kind of stuff. In this community, I want to hear about you, what you are going through. Who are you beyond your caregiver roles, beyond being a family caregiver, beyond being a parent, beyond being like in my day job, I was a online community builder. So like I built communities for the company I worked for. But in my community, I'm just Jeanette. I'm just a person who wants to talk with other people about self-care. That's it. So that's what we do.
Yeah,
And it's important.
And I think I'm glad what we talked about this, because I think it's so important. We can forget that. We can forget that we're not alone. There's other people going through it too. And sometimes the people closest to us don't understand what we're feeling or going through. So it's really important that you're connecting and reaching out to people that do understand and are going through something similar with you, because it's really important that we're not feeling alone. No matter what you're doing with your journey or where you're at or feeling stuck, it's really important that you're reaching out for community and people that have gone through it or are going through it too, so you're not feeling like you're on this island alone, because it could be we can make it more challenging for ourselves when we don't reach out. So Jeanette, how can we find you? How can we find your amazingness in you and in your community, and how that people can join your community and possibly work with you?
Well, so the best way to get in touch with me is to go to Instagram, because I am there all the time. I practically live over there. Love me some stories. So I'm at the self caregiver over there. And if you connect with me there, you can just message me via DM and let me know, do you want, I can help you get access to the community. We can set up. One of the things that I love doing with caregivers that are just trying to figure out self-care is I do a quick, free coaching call with you, where I can help you just get an assessment, little self-care assessment, and then reset. Just press that reset button. Let's get started. And so if you connect with me via DM over there on Instagram at the Self-Caregiver, I can get you started with community. I can get you started with a little reset, and we can talk about how we can work together. So I would love to have people check me out over there. I share tips almost every day about like the ins and outs of caregiving and self-care at the same time. You can do it. It's possible. I promise.
Awesome. Amazing. Well, and we'll have all of Jeanette's links in the show notes. So you can go check her out on Instagram, follow her, reach out to her in the DM, connect with her. She's amazing. And her website and everything that wherever you can find her and connect with her, we'll have available in the show notes. Jeanette, before we wrap up, I just want to say thank you. I've learned a lot. And I know I'm going to be taking the tips that you shared with me. And it's one thing, it is my challenge. I tried doing gratitude journaling. I don't do it every day. This morning,
Right.
I want to do my morning routine. This morning I did 0 of it. So
Right.
there's, and I get to find a way to do that. And maybe it's when, tonight, if I take a shower, I'm just going to sit there for an extra 5.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So thank you for sharing that. Cause I never thought of that as self-care, and I really enjoy it. Like, those moments are really important to me. Do you have a fun fact that somebody wouldn't know about you if we on Instagram or following you on social media?
Well, I mean, I will say I am kind of an open book, y'all. So if you follow me long enough, you're probably going to hear all of it. But I will say that one interesting fact is I have gone from being a non-fitness exercise person, like never worked out, could not do any of the president's physical fitness test, to being a full-time Pilates instructor.
Wow.
I also was a full-time high school English teacher and drama teacher.
Oh.
So I've done fitness, I've done education in the education system, I've done social media management and brand community building. I have done it all. And now one of the things that I love is that I'm bringing all of those, even the drama. Drama classes, we don't bring drama. Drama classes, theater, if you will.
No
all of
that
into what I do for caregivers inside my program. And so so that's a fun fact about me. And one of the things that I always tell people, this is a random fun fact, but I have really long toes, y'all. Like, they're ridiculous. This is hilarious. So instead of like everybody, I used to be very self-conscious about them because they're like, oh, you're the finger toes. Well, I was like, you know what? They are like fingers. So I think I'll learn to write with my feet. And so I can actually write with my feet.
Really?
I mean, not like a full essay, but yeah, I can write some notes.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I just owned that quirk about myself. So yeah. Maybe gross if you're like, oh, did she just say feet? I'm really sorry.
No, it's not gross.
But
I think it's actually pretty cool. Like you said, you owned it. You're like, this is me. I was born this way. Love it, and I get to embrace it. So there's another tip and lesson from Jeanette. Whatever you feel are your quirks or what makes you different and unique, own it, embrace it, and bring it to the forefront. So
that's right.
Love that. Love it so much. My son loves theater. He performs on stage for musical theater. So I love that you taught drama and you were involved in drama.
Oh yeah. I was a huge musical theater person growing up. I did theater. It kind of helped me find my place. And so getting to teach it in a high school setting was pretty awesome.
Yeah. Oh, this has been so fun. Thank you so much for your time, Jeanette. We're both Floridians too. That's a fun fact. You're in Jacksonville.
Jacksonville.
I live in South Florida, so I always confuse Jacksonville and Tallahassee. But yeah, so she's in Jacksonville. I'm in Wellington, West Palm Beach area, 2 separate sides of Florida. But it's so cool that I'm talking to a Floridian, fellow Floridian, and we're both natives, Florida natives.
Yes,
a fun.
It's like 2 unicorns meeting. It's like never happens.
Exactly, it never happens. So it's rare, y'all, to have native Floridians. I'm just telling you.
That's right.
Especially our ages. I'm 51.
Yes.
Yeah. It's our age. It's a rarity. So thank you, Jeanette, so much for this. Like, amazing, beautiful, fun, informative, educational conversation. So much value. I know the listeners are going to have amazing takeaways. For you listening, please reach out to Jeanette. She is just an amazing human, a mom, a wife, a caregiver, and really has a passion for helping you take care of yourself and love on yourself and practice those self-care in a very simple, easy, and tells you exactly how to do it,
Yep.
not just you should do this. So
Exactly.
and she walks the talk. So thank you so much again, Jeanette. Thank you all for listening and to the Be S.H.E podcast. Jeanette, you're welcome back anytime. This has been
Thank
super fun.
you.
Yes, so we'll definitely need to do this again. And thank you again for your time today.
Thank you.
We'll see you again on the next episode of the Be S.H.E podcast. Be seen, be heard, be empowered. Have an amazing day.